So safety is really, really important for all Cascades Pika Watch volunteers. This goes for, of course, if you're an abundance volunteer and you're going to be walking transects across the talus, obviously you need to learn how to move safely on the talus. But even if you're just doing sitting surveys, we are asking you to try to make sure that you social distance yourself from other hikers while you're doing your survey by moving 6 feet up or 6 feet down away from the trail. When you're walking across the talus, there's a couple of key safety points to keep in mind. One of them is to try to maintain 3 points of contact with the rocks at all times. So those 3 points of contact could be both of your feet and your hand. They could be your 2 hands and a foot. They could be 2 hands and your bum. Any 3 body parts will do. But this basically sets you up like a tripod. It makes you a lot more stable. A second thing that I like to do is I like to always double check each step that I take. So every time I take a step on the talus, I tap the rock once to make sure that it's not going to move before I commit to making the step. A third key point is that you want to make sure that if you are doing a survey with a partner and you're surveying the same patch at the same time, or if you're working on a trail or on a patch that has a trail and there are hikers on the trail below you, the person at the bottom of the talus always has the right of way. So if you are above somebody, what I would ask you to do is to stand still or sit down and wait until that person is cleared out from underneath you and before you start moving again. This helps minimize the risk of an accident if you do pick off a rock while you are moving around, which does happen occasionally. If you do kick off a rock while you're moving around, make sure to yell "rock" very loudly. Rock! And this will help alert other people when this happens to make sure to look out before they get hit with a falling rock. Finally, it's a good idea also to try and, if you can, spread your step out across 2 rocks so that your foot is supported by both rocks at the same time rather than committing to a single rock. And if you do find yourself feeling a little bit unstable, make sure that you lean into the uphill part of the talus. Don't lean downhill where you might fall over. All right, so when you're getting ready to start hiking, you want to make sure that you have all of the appropriate safety gear. I like to carry a miniature first aid kit. I also wear good, strong hiking boots with a stiff sole. That'll give you a lot more stability on trails. I always wear pants because of the poison oak concern, especially in the Columbia River Gorge. You don't want to mess around with that. Finally, when you're working in the Columbia Gorge, unlike this spot where I'm sitting here in Colorado, there is a lot of moss cover. And it's important to try to avoid stepping on the moss cover for a couple of reasons. First off, when the moss is wet in particular, it can slide off the rocks and sometimes you can go for a slide with it. So it's a good idea to try to make sure that you step only on bare rock. In addition, in the moss cover is an important food resource for pikas, and it may also help regulate the microclimates that the pikas are exposed to under the rocks. And so because this habitat feature is really important and is recovering from the Eagle Creek fire disturbance, we want to try to minimize our disturbance to the moss cover as much as possible. Thanks again, and stay safe out there.